it to December. Congratulations. Uh, as I mentioned, Weston's going to be joining us to talk about a process that we went through at Water for Good in terms of identifying and clearly articulating our organizational statement of faith and some key principles that go along with that. But before that, we want to kind of give a little sneak preview of our year-end campaign where we're going to be focused on a healthy new year. So we're focusing on clean water projects in some hospitals and institutions. If you go over to the next slide real quick. So specifically, I'm going to show you in just a minute a little video about a little youngster named Christopher in the hospital in Beverati. Now, this hospital in Beverati currently doesn't have access to clean water. They have at various times in the past. They currently don't, but we're planning to change that for good in 2024. And we want to highlight that story here shortly. But actually, before we get started with that, I wanted to note, as many of you know, we've started to shift a lot to doing solar-powered pipe water systems in the Central African Republic in the last several years. And that gives us a different avenue to see how much water is being used or serving people through the work that's been done through Water for Good and through the generosity of all of our supporters. And in 2022, we actually were able to measure over 18 million gallons of water going through our systems. And I think I just messed up the giveaway, but we're gonna do a little giveaway real quick. And to the nearest million, I would like everyone to make an estimation of how many million gallons of water we anticipate going through our systems in 2023. So your reference point is 2022, 18 million gallons of piped water going through these systems. Obviously, we've added a number of new systems this year as well. So they're the closest million, if you can make a guess. And the thing we're going to be giving away today for our giveaway is actually a gift wrap for good package. So we just had this awesome event called Gift Wrap for Good. We had an amazing professional gift wrapper teach people how to wrap things. You got sent a box with gift wrap supplies, custom gift wrap paper, and we hosted a live Zoom call teaching people how to wrap, and it included 12 ounces of generous coffee from a coffee company that supports Water for Good directly. So we're going to give a little mini party pack to whoever gets the closest. There'll be 2 of these boxes, which normally go for $35 donation. It'll include those supplies, it'll include that coffee, and you and your friend can then use the Zoom recording to host your own little mini gift wrapping educational program or practice program and wrap that coffee and give it away to somebody in your life. And if anyone else on this call is interested, we do have some of these boxes available. If you want to do a little gift wrapping party of your own, you can connect directly with Leanne or through our website and find out more information on how to get those ordered. So we'll give just a minute to everyone. But again, your guess is how many millions of gallons of water will flow through our pipe systems in 2023. Okay.
And it is Price is Right rules. So if you go over, you're out. So if that impacts anyone's guesses, just be aware of that. And we'll
closest without going over. So yeah. I expect to see one person guess 1 gallon because that's how Price is Right goes. So we're going to come back to it after we play this little video. If you want to go to the next slide, so you have a few minutes to put your guess into the chat there. So if we can go to the next slide. Now, the reason why we really want to focus on health facilities is, as many of you know, safe, clean water is important for health, but it's also important for folks in these hospitals to take care and do their job in the right way. So disinfection of surgical tools, promotion of staff hand washing, allowing for clean rooms, and then, of course, importantly, to keep patients hydrated. So we're going to share this short 2-minute video on the next slide here, and then we'll come back to our giveaway question.
It's still early in the morning, and Yvette groggily opens her eyes. It's not the stifling heat that awoke her, but the painful cries of her 6-month-old Christopher. As dawn breaks, she knows she cannot wait any longer. Placing her son on her back, she begins the journey to the one place she hopes can help: Hospital Beberati. She leaves her 7 other children and a long list of daily chores behind. This illness is prevalent throughout her community. No child has gone untouched, and Christopher is no exception.
There are many kids that have gotten this illness. The sickness is rampant.
Their water source is continually making the children ill. Yvette arrives at the hospital in the center of town. Once Christopher is checked in, she's confronted with another problem. Hospital Beberati also lacks clean water.
Here in Barbarotti, there are many water problems. People go all over trying to get water, and in turn, they drink lots of dirty water. Kids who don't have clean water to drink come in with diarrhea and vomiting. They get dehydrated, and if they aren't rehydrated quickly, they die. We can't do our jobs right because we don't have clean water.
When children drink dirty water, they get sick. When they get sick, they go to the hospital, where there is no clean water. So they return home, and the cycle begins again. Time is of the essence, and we hope to get clean water to this hospital and its community as soon as possible. Would you consider gifting children like Christopher a healthy new year?
Please help us with the water problem we have.
So that is a sneak preview of what's coming up in our year-end campaign, and we're so honored to be able to come alongside the incredible heroes working in this health facility in Beberati to come along and support them with access to clean water. We're already in the planning stages. We're working closely with them and with a number of others. We know this isn't a matter of if we're going to do it; it's a matter of when we're going to do it, and we're excited to get all the pieces in place and get the funding needed to make this happen and serve a number of other health facilities as we continue in our strategy in the western part of the Central African Republic and region too. So thanks so much for listening in on that sneak preview of our year-end campaign. You'll be hearing a lot more about it as we go along. Leanne, do we have an official winner?
We have a tie between
okay.
Roger and Jamie. So
All right.
I think we can move on, but if Roger and Jamie can type in their guess between in 2022 we have it down.
Exact gallon.
It's between 18 and 19 million. That is your hint. So if you can type in an exact guess between 18 and 19 million of how much clean water went through the tap stands, and then we will announce the winner after that.
All right.
All right. Go over, you're out. All right. Good luck.
You can go on to the next slide. I'm going to introduce Weston, who's going to come in and talk a little bit about our faith and operations. So Weston, before coming on board with Water for Good this year, had actually worked for the last 2 decades in formal church ministry, including the last 17 years at Bowling Green Christian Church as their senior pastor. We're so honored and excited to have him as a part of our team here this year. And he's going to talk a little bit about a process that we went through in conjunction with a guy named Dr. King out of the Lilly School of Philanthropy, who focuses on the Lake Institute of Faith and Giving. We brought him in to come and participate with our team to really figure out how can we articulate the faith statement of Water for Good, as we've never actually documented what that means for Water for Good. So we included members of our board, our senior leadership team, our Central African leadership team, and Weston was actually able to be a part of that process as he was just getting onboarded with Water for Good. And he's going to share kind of that process and what came out of that process and how we think about it here at Water for Good. So I'll pass it over to you, Weston. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. And it's exciting to be here. I really felt like maybe there was some providential timing in me coming over as we started I got to be on the tail end of those conversations as things were being formed. And really the question is, what does it mean to be a faith-based Christian organization? And this was the statement that the team came up with, is that it really means being committed to demonstrating God's love to all people, through reliable clean water access in one of the world's most neglected countries. If you've been following along with us for a while, you know that about 60% of water projects in Africa are defunct right now. And so you've got a continent that's littered with broken promises. And we work hard to put in the hard work that's needed to keep that water flowing as a testimony to God's faithfulness and love. And there were three key principles that we said, this is sort of who we are and what we're about that inform this work. And the first is really a belief that we serve Jesus when we serve those who are hungry, poor, thirsty, and oppressed. I've talked with a lot of church leaders because that's my job. And one of the questions I get asked most often is, how does this tie in with the gospel? A lot of relief and missionary agencies use good works like drilling a well as an introduction to faith. They do the good work. They have a conversation about faith. Maybe they make the whole village sit down and watch the Jesus film. So that way they can have these kinds of conversations. And that's great. But in the CAR, it's almost happened in reverse. Faithful missionaries like Jim Hocking, our founder, and his parents and the Gribbles before them for decades had been sharing the love of Jesus throughout this country. And the genesis of Water for Good really came from the request of church leaders who said, listen, we don't really need help with the church. We've got that down, but what we need is help with water. CAA Factbook puts the CAR as 89% Christian. And so we see ourselves as living out this key verse here in Matthew 25 that says, I was thirsty. This is Jesus speaking, and you gave me something to drink. There's a lot in Matthew 25 we could unpack and talk about, but really it's interesting because the curtain sort of gets pulled back as Jesus reveals, like, what do good works really mean? Because people are saying, well, when did we give you a drink? And Jesus says, anytime you did something for somebody who couldn't pay you back and couldn't pay it forward, you did that for me. And so we view ourselves as living out this verse as we take care of the least of these brothers and sisters of ours. This is why Jesus says, when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. And we view ourselves as answering that call through the cry of local churches. We do this in two things. One is we want to show unconditional love to all, providing clean water, rebuilding relationships across cultures and religions to reflect the kingdom of God, and working with local communities. It starts with a call by the local church, but it expands to include the entire community, believing, non-believing, all of the diversity that's there. They're all welcome to the well. They're all welcome to have something to drink. And we do that because we want to put our faith into action. You might disagree. Here's my hot take, but talk has never been cheaper than it is today. Everybody's got a blog. Everybody's got an opinion they put on Facebook. YouTube, podcasts, TikTok, all provide a platform for everybody who has something to say or thinks they have something to say. A lot of people talk about Jesus. Fewer people are willing to work for him. And that's really what we want to do, to work to demonstrate God's love in what is a very neglected place. Key verse for us, Jim has shared this with me quite a bit, is something that sort of has moved him. 1 John 3:17 says, if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother and sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. And in this verse, we sort of embrace that because we believe that John is saying we can't just talk about God's love. We have to live it out. That's how a watching world knows what we really believe. We demonstrate God's love through improving lives with clean, reliable water access. Healthy churches grow up in healthy communities. I had a conversation with a pastor of one of our supporting churches, and he commented that he was a little skeptical about all of the work that's happening in the CAR from churches and faith-based groups. And in his mind, he said, I've got this idea that is just a social gospel kind of thing. And if you're not familiar with that phrase, it's often used negatively to describe taking care of somebody in this life while neglecting their eternal, care and position. And he got over to the CAR and he came back and his eyes were open and he said, you know what? These folks are just trying to stay alive. And he saw how necessary this work was. And he said, you can't have a healthy church in a community that's struggling this way. And so he started to see the value of this and how it's necessary to have a vibrant faith community come out of a healthy community. It's a lot easier to say I love you, and it's a lot harder to show. The work is hard, but we believe it is growing the faith in the communities where we serve, and the people who do the work, and the people who sacrifice to support it. One of my favorite videos, I think, that illustrates this is our Pastor Abakar story. And so if you've not seen that, you might want to check that out. I bet we could put that up someplace. Now, I do want to say this. It's not that we don't ever talk about the gospel. We do that pretty regularly through our radio service. Some of you know that we operate Water for Good Radio. It's the only shortwave radio station in the country, and we talk about weather updates, health and hygiene tips, the love of Jesus. And I heard there's a call-in show that takes place, and I think people call in, send greetings to people. I've even heard they talk about what they're eating for lunch. Is this true? I think somebody was telling me this. Yeah. So even before Facebook, inside of our humanity, we have an inherent desire to share our meals with the people that we don't know. I don't know what that says about us as people. Anyways, so Radio for Good is something that is great for us to talk about our faith, and it reminds the entire country what we're about, why we do what we do. So when folks see the trucks come in and see the work happening, they know what we're about and what we stand for. Last thing here is this idea that we work with excellence as an act of worship. I love this verse from Colossians. It says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Now, work is worship, but we think of worship as something we just do on Sundays with music. But the first person in the whole Bible that is said to have been filled with the Holy Spirit shows up in Exodus 31. This guy in Exodus 31, his name is Bezalel. I mean, you can try pronouncing that better than me, but his name's Bezalel, and the Lord tells Moses, I put my spirit in this guy. He's not a worship leader. He's not a preacher. He is a craftsman. He works with his hands. He builds things. He uses tools, and he is said to be filled with the Holy Spirit of God. And I think about this in terms of our technicians and planners and engineers and all the folks that do the work that happens. These are people who are skilled and serve with their God-given abilities. And so we worship when we install quality water points and when we provide sustainable long-term solutions. We worship when we steward other people's generosity well with transparency and honesty, when we invest in our employees. These are all acts of worship. I want to wrap up with this verse from Romans chapter 12, because it lets us know that everything we do, even your gifts as you support Water for Good, are an act of worship. Romans 12 verse 6 says, we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift's in prophesying, then prophesy. If it's serving, then serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it's to encourage, then encourage. If it's giving, then give generously. If it's to lead, do it diligently. If it's to show mercy, do it cheerfully. So I want to say thank you. I know the whole agency wants to say thank you for your mercy, for your encouragement, for your generosity, because we believe that together our work is an act of worship that is changing the Central African Republic for the glory of God. So that's kind of a brief overview of our philosophy of faith in operations. And I think we want to open up for some questions. And I know we really need to make sure we give away our prizes, because that's why you've all tuned in today.
Thanks so much, Weston. Really great job sharing that in a limited amount of time. And we can tell your 20 years of working in the church paid off. You narrowed it down to 3 points.
All I needed was a poem to make my preaching professor happy.
Before we move on to questions, we'll let Leanne, do you have an official winner?
We do. Congratulations, Roger Stichter, or Professor Stichter, as I used to have to call him in college. We will be sending out those boxes to you. So hopefully either you and your wife or the kids can enjoy that. Oh, Becky's got them ready to go for you. Thank you so much. Sorry, Jamie, you conceded by not answering the question. So congratulations. All
And
right.
she did not have to call me that. I mean, she could actually call me anything she wanted respectfully. That was my rule.
Yeah,
But
that's
All
anyway,
right.
well, I did not join expecting to win anything. So, but it's good to see y'all. I don't usually get to be on these live anyway, and so today my schedule allowed it. So always good to
Great.
hear.
We're happy to have you here. So we'll open it up for questions. We have about 6 minutes left. We'll open up for any questions you might have for Weston or clarifications in this process. As noted earlier, we really wanted to do this at this phase of life, organizational life, while we still had our founder actively involved in the organization. We had a good mix of board members, both board members who've been with us for a while and some newer, fresh perspectives on our board as well. And we have similarly a good mix of leadership within Water for Good, some of who had been with Water for Good for a long time, some who are bringing new perspectives and ideas. So I think what resulted in that, it was really, really fantastic. I'm fine with awkward silence, so I'm going to leave it a little bit longer to see if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, again, Weston, sure you'll be ready for some questions via email as well.
Yes, please email questions, send them over. I do a lot of email, so I'm happy to get them. Send them my way.
And maybe real quick, Weston, you could talk a little bit about some of the ways you're looking to engage some of our partnering churches and some new churches in the work that Water for Good's doing. I think we have some new and improved options for churches to be involved with.
I would love that. The thing I'm really excited about right now is our big water challenge that's just now coming out of design. It is perfect for Lent if your church observes that. If not, it's perfect for any time you really want to have a nice month-long call back to what matters most. The challenge is to maintain your regular diet, but drink only water, and then save the money that you would have spent on non or plus water drinks and donate that to clean water projects. It comes with 6 sermons. It's got sort of reflects on the theology of water through the Gospel of John. It's got daily devotions, youth group materials, small group materials, everything your church would need to host essentially a 40-day campaign. And you can do that through the period of Lent. So yeah, check that out. Hit me up if you've got questions for that. I'd be glad to talk to you more about that campaign and the other ones. We got VBS and a few other things around here too. We're going to start sharing a little more.
Awesome. Yeah, so Weston's really trying to make it easy for churches to get involved. We know church leadership is extremely busy, especially this time of year. And so being able to have something that's a resource and a tool that can highlight this need in the Central African Republic, while also encouraging the congregation to grow personally in their faith as well.
John, we did have a question I think maybe you could point to from Robin asking about just how safety is on the ground right now. Have things calmed down since the July?
Yeah. So thankfully, there was no major issues on the back end of the July referendum, which was around presidential term limits and a number of other things. I was just in the Central African Republic last month, and things were quite active and busy in the country. So it's good to see people moving around, the economy active. There was some insecurity in certain parts of the country, as there typically is, but we have a security coordinator who stays up to date on that on a regular basis to make sure our teams know where they have authorization to go and not go, as we put safety as such a important part of what we do. So generally speaking, I'd say it's in a pretty stable flow currently as well. But I mean, it's something we always think about. And for those of you who are on here who are looking for requests to pray for Water for Good, continue to keep that at the top of your list for safety in the country and stability in the country and safety of the teams.
And not sure this is the best time to plug it, but we still have spots for our 20th anniversary trip in July. So if you would want to come and visit the CAR with Jim, he is leading. We have 2 more trips going out, week-long trips that he's leading.
And those trips will all be next summer.
Yes.
So there's a link that you'd have access to be able to learn more about that. There's a number of frequently asked questions. And yeah, it would be a great opportunity.
And then Weston, Matthew was asking if you had ever considered running the Lent idea through a faith-based university.
Yes, I'm actually talking with a group of students and a student life committee at a university in Texas about doing this exact thing. So all of the content we have could easily be adapted for a Christian university group, student group, or if you've got a Christian university that said, man, we all want to kind of get together on this. Yeah, I think the content would jump to that age group pretty well.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, feel free to connect with Weston directly if you have one in mind. All right. Well, we are coming up on an hour. I'll stay on. I'm sure Weston will as well in case anyone has other questions. But I do want to be respectful of your time as we try to keep this nailed down to 30 minutes. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year ahead. Thank you so much for the support and being a part of the work that we do in the Central African Republic through Water for Good. It's an honor to be able to come here and be with you. And yeah, just big thank you from our whole team. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season with the family and friends and everything in between. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.